All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Black Spartan Talk Show. Once again, my name is Armani Donahue. I'm the program coordinator of the African American Black Student Success Center at San Jose State. Super glad to have some really great guests with me today. Today, we're talking about being a young student affairs professional and also the intersection of being Black within all of that. So I have three guests with me today, all from different departments and areas on campus. First, I will go ahead and introduce Kayla. Kayla works in the Vice President's office with Patrick Day, as I hope some of you probably have seen or known him to be. We also have Kira, who works in student involvement as the Greek life coordinator. And we also have Raymond, who works in, I'm so sorry, I didn't have this pulled up for me beforehand. But I know Raymond works in the 10th Street Garage, where most of you would be getting your ID photos if campus were to be open still. So please flip on your cameras, go ahead and tell everyone who you are. We'll go ahead and do introductions that are likely better than mine. So we'll go ahead and go with the same order that I introduced everyone with. So go ahead, Kayla, then Kira, and then Raymond.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla McGill. I'm the Admin Project Specialist in the Office of the Vice President for Student Affairs. And more specifically, I support the ABPs for Student Services and Campus Life.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Kira Taylor. I am Student Engagement Coordinator within Student Involvement, and I specifically support fraternity and sorority life, and even more specifically, our culturally based groups within United Sorority Fraternity Council, as well as National Pan-Hellenic Council, which is our historically Black groups.
It's going to get crazy loud. It's a dump truck outside my window. Hi, my name is Raymond Arbear. I work in the garage. No, I'm joking. I work for the Office of the Registrar. I am the person who drops you from your classes if you do not pay us.
That's a hefty job.
No, it's just a list of names. Like, I don't even look at it like that anymore. It's like, if you didn't pay, it is what it is.
I feel it. All right. Well, thank you all of you for introducing yourselves. I appreciate that so much. One thing that I always like to ask people before we get started is, what's been your secret sauce to carry on through these last 7 months? We, I think, are in 7 going on 8 at this point, indefinitely till who knows how long. So if any of you have a secret sauce, something that keeps you having great days, great weeks, great weekends, please share what that is for you. Whoever would like to go first.
I work out a lot. That just keeps me going. I've also picked up baking for some odd reason. So now I bake.
So what's your favorite thing to bake, or last thing that you baked?
What did I bake? I think I made like fried ice cream or something like that. It was like the first time, but it worked itself out. My kids ate it, so they're still alive. So it worked itself out.
Love it. All right. Thank you.
Not that I'm telling everyone to go out and do this, and it was planned before we all got shut down, but I got a puppy. So she's keeping me nice and busy. She really is like a child, which lets me know I'm not having children for at least the next 10 years. Work-wise, though, I say I'm just making sure I get up and have routine. So I'm making my coffee every morning. I'm washing my face. I'm not necessarily getting out of pajamas all the time. Like, I have sweats on underneath this camera, but just doing that, it's keeping me going and ready for the day.
Depending on your role or your job, whatever you do, I might not advise this, but I think because we have kind of some flexibility in our roles in our office, like I've kind of took on this mantra of like integrate moments of like your weekend into your weekday. So things that you would normally put off into the weekend or into like after work, like integrate those into your work day, just like to do items, not necessarily like partying or anything. So like I might do like my hair, my nails. I might like clean my room during the day, just to like kind of break it up from just sitting in front of my laptop. So that's just kind of how I keep going.
Okay. So it sounds like with the last two, you find routines, which have been lacking for a month. So I'm going to be taking some pages from your books. So thanks for sharing that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some of the services that your offices offer to the campus. what are some things that have been offered pre-virtual and during the virtual times to support students?
The registrar's office, we offer, I guess, Zoom meetings, live chat, and a service called Keyless. It's just so students can have a one-on-one conversation with a service specialist to kind of figure out their accounts. Just because your student account is gross. If you ever look at your student account, it's really gross. So we have to go through like certain pieces of information of why you can't graduate, or why is there a hold on your account, or what is your requirement year. So we go through a lot of that. And we also offer, well, most of our docs are finally online, which is also probably helpful for you. As far as through DocuSign, you can, do your change of majors and things like that, your access unit petitions through DocuSign, which is a lot more helpful because you won't be able to do it in person. It's just not happening.
Has it become easier to certify and get through different documentation that might have taken students more time to understand how to do, or weeks to actually get through to your office? How has that process been looking virtually?
It's really, to be honest with you, it really depends on the student's drive to finish the actual documentation. You'll get some students who don't need a lot of help at all, and then you'll get some students who just don't want to look at all. So you really run into that problem, those two spectrums of, are you going to actually try, or are you going to expect for me to do everything for you? So it's probably about the same, to be honest with you. You really just have to, it's really the quality of the student that depends on how fast the doc gets processed.
Okay, got you. Thank you. All right, anyone else? How this is, how your departments are functioning virtually and even pre-virtually that you might want to share.
Yeah, so I'll share a couple of things that I get to work on being on these committees within campus life. The Spartan Speaker Series, for example, that's something that we used to have on campus in the ballroom, have meet and greets in the meeting room, and they were really cool and private and intimate. And we were able to also transform this in a webinar format. So we're still able to have meet and greets. Obviously, we're not getting the signatures and the photos, but I think it's almost a little bit better in a sense, because it kind of feels like you're able to listen to a talk show and actually talk back to the TV. So we just finished up our last Spartan Speaker Series this past Wednesday, actually. Something else that we've also transformed online was Weeks of Welcome. So that's a huge event on campus, and the campus partners are really great with banding together and kind of hanging on with the first virtual Weeks of Welcome. So I think that there's a lot of aspects within this campus life and student service departments that everyone's worked really hard to just kind of turn everything virtually and still make these services available.
Nice. I kind of miss sitting out with the booklets and the supplies and everything at the start of the semester.
Yeah, that was nice. And the food.
Yeah, right. All right, what about you, Kira?
I would like to throw in like a caveat here. I actually started my role virtually, so I have not personally been working on campus prior to COVID. But from what I'm aware, and to tag onto what some of the programs that Kayla has mentioned that student involvement also helps with, we've been doing pretty much everything the same, except just on the virtual format. So we do a lot of Zoom programming. We're looking into new ways to do virtual programming on different formats and platforms. So coming soon, maybe in the spring. And for Greek life, recruitment programs, also still Zoom based. So I know a lot of organizations have been doing different like online games like Kahoot and Jeopardy. So hopefully those will ramp up. But otherwise, a lot of Fraternities for Life is like we leave our program to our students. And so we still do advising. So if you are someone that is interested, or if you're someone that's already part of the community, we're still doing meetings and emails. We're still available by our live chat on our website and all of that. So we're still doing a lot of leadership and student organization workshops as well. So that's what's going on in student involvement.
Nice. Okay. So with all of this being said, we've just finished Weeks of Welcome. Well, I guess not just, it's been about 3 weeks since that point, huh? It's crazy. But are there any upcoming events that your departments will be having or hosting, co-sponsoring that students can get involved in? And if you would like to share your screen to share the flyer, I encourage you to, but if not, you can share them with me later. But it's all good if you also have nothing or trying to wrap your brain around the many things.
Yeah, we don't have anything from our department. Most of my department is paperwork. So
Okay.
unless y'all want to come help me file the paperwork, there's really nothing, no events that's going on.
Okay. Are there ever events?
Usually we had like homecoming events and stuff like that, like the SSC homecoming competition where we decorate the lobby and stuff like that. We won that last year, but the building's closed. So no, we don't have any events going on right now.
Okay, got you.
Well, because we're talking, I mentioned Weeks of Welcome and like Spartan Speaker Series, for example, those will still be going on, but now it's like we just finished, we're in the planning stage for spring. So all of the events you love and know are still going to happen just later on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, same. We are just starting to like plan for spring right now. So we are wrapping up everything for the fall and just kind of like putting the bow on things. I would say for fraternity sort of like specifically, probably towards the beginning of the semester, we'll start back up with our FSL info sessions, as well as our specific council info session. So we'll have like a general one, and then we'll also have ones for each of the four council of fraternities and sororities. So look out for that if you're interested in any specific groups or just want to learn more. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And this will actually be a really good plug right now. So if you ever need to share any flyers with us, or you feel like there's something missing within our newsletter that you want to share with us, I encourage you to not follow, but go to our bit.ly, which is linked at bit.ly/AABSC in all caps there, markets. Forgot the markets with the S at the end here. But either way, I will make sure that everyone in our community is pretty aware of that. Just so you can include on our newsletter, on our social media, any events and postings that you would like to share with our community, I encourage you to use that link, bit.ly/all caps AABSSC, then no caps markets. All right, so we'll go ahead and move into our next question. So how did you find your way into student affairs? Some of us might have been super involved in undergrad, maybe even grad school, and thought it would be really cool to just go into student affairs because it feels like you would be getting paid to do what you did as a student. At least that's what I thought it would be like. So how did you find your way into student affairs? Whoever would like to go first can share first.
Looks like the pattern is me. I'm originally from Texas. I moved here in 2018, like Q4, and I started working for the registrar's office. And then I started pursuing my MBA. I'm actually taking financial management right now. And so working in student affairs, I used to be in Texas, I was a teacher. I was a grade school teacher. So it was kind of like right up my alley. So it wasn't a big change. It was kind of like a lateral move.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. And I know, Kira, you went to grad school for student affairs. And Kayla, did you go to grad school yet? I don't think so. Yeah, me either. Okay, so whoever.
Sure, I'll go next. We'll stay in order. It's funny. I don't know if I was just very aloof in undergrad or what was going on, but all of my internships in undergrad, with the exception of 2, were actually within student affairs. Now that I'm working in student affairs, I understand the organizational structure. But after I graduated college, I was actually working in a nonprofit. And then I'm going to be honest, because we need to make money after we graduate. I saw an opening at San Jose State. So I was like, oh, I'm going to apply here. I worked at the health center for a little bit. And it was great. And that's when I started to, make connections with folks, start learning more about what student affairs actually is. And, just through making more connections, I ended up over at the Vice President of Student Affairs office where I'm currently at today. And I ended up here, I guess you would just say by a learning process, and excuse my dog, he's just not happy right now. Just a learning process, meeting people serendipitously, I guess. So it's not that fun of a story. It wasn't necessarily planned, but now that I'm here and I see all of the different aspects and, different departments and, student affairs ranges all the way from like the health center to enrollment management. Like there's just so much in between that. It's like the opportunities are endless.
Nice.
Okay, so I was that super involved student in undergrad. I'm actually from North Carolina. So I went to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And so since I started my college journey, I wanted to get super involved. And so I started in orientation. And one day I just kind of asked my director, I was like, so what do you do? How did you get here? And then that's kind of how I got introduced to student affairs, and that is a real industry and job that you can go into. And so I continued to get involved on campus in things like housing and Greek life, and just kind of collecting mentors and people that showed me more information and ways to get involved. And so I did end up going to grad school for student affairs at Appalachian State, which is also in North Carolina in the mountain region. And now I'm here. So yes, always happy to talk about student affairs and that journey.
Okay, and I very similar to you, Kira. I was also a pretty involved student here too. But like Kayla, I wasn't totally aware of what student affairs meant. I knew it could have been associated students and res life, and mainly those were the things I was probably prioritizing as student affairs, but who knew it could be just as wide as basically everything that students see and experience, just like Raymond's department, working with a lot of paperwork, but it's still student affairs, right? Who's your AVP?
For me?
Yeah.
Patrick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have the position that's being filled right now, the AVP position? Like Ramondo would have been your AVP a year ago?
No. Patrick Day has been our AVP, I think, since I got that. I guess a little bit after I got there. I remember when he did his first speech. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you count CSU units, I'm in Unit 7. So if anybody else is in Unit 7, we probably have the same vice president. She's like, nah, I don't even know the units.
I know I'm in Unit 4, but I don't know anything about.
read your contract. Read your contract.
Okay, got you. So yeah, understanding the structure of student affairs has been interesting, just noticing the complexities and how vast it can be, which kind of can lead me into my next question as well. What's been your experience as working as a Black higher education professional, and especially in virtual times like this? I think it's fair to share what we've experienced, whatever you're comfortable sharing, I will say that. Because I mean, just being Black in general is a challenge. So coming to any work environment as a Black individual will be a challenge. So if there's any challenges you would like to address that maybe students can recognize are still common as we continue to progress through adulthood, I would encourage you to share whatever you're comfortable with.
I'm gonna try to chill and not go wild. So the African American is not the majority at this campus. I'm gonna let you know if you're out there watching. We're only probably about 3% of the actual population. I would say for the most part, we are treated as such. And there is a lapse between, I guess, looking out for the African American community at this campus and saying that we're going to look out for the African American community at this campus. I've noticed that a lot of, I would say, departments or positions are more interested in Black Lives marketing rather than Black Lives Matter. And it becomes evident when you go to some of these events, virtual or in person, that not a single African American or Black person actually works for that department at all. So it gets a little bit confusing when departments say that they are for Black lives and employing Black or employing or advocating for Black Lives Matter, but they don't have a single Black person that works for them. So it's kind of hard to. It would be the equivalent of me giving a flight instructor advice on how to fly a plane. I don't fly planes. I have to get a pilot in the room. And a lot of these departments just refuse to get a Black person in the room. So there's that. I'm gonna stop right there before I go too deep, but if anybody else has something to say.
So my experience, I feel like, is pretty unique because I am really fortunate in that I was hired by a bunch of Black folks. When I first came over to the Vice President for Student Affairs office, Ramondo Nash was the AVP for Student Services, who's a Black man. My other supervisor, Sandra Daniels, she's the AVP for Campus Life, who is a Black woman. Patrick Day is, the Vice President for Student Affairs, who's a Black man. So I had a lot of support around me. I continue to have a lot of support around me. So there were, things and advice that I could get from them all the time and pull from. And quite frankly, I'm like protected in my little bubble. And it wasn't until I started making more connections, like, I don't even remember at this point, Armani, how we met, but because there are so few Black people on campus, at least the folks that I run into, you make sure you introduce yourself. You kind of still look out for each other. Like we all know each other because there's only like 200 of us. So there is that. I will say there are things that I didn't notice, again, because I just am fortunate to work where I am and have the supervisors that I do have. There are a little bit of microaggressions that I didn't realize were microaggressions at first until I started talking to folks. And I'll just give you a kind of funny one because I was flattered. Anytime I would go somewhere, I was constantly, mind you, this is for work, I'm at work, constantly asked for my student ID. And I was like, okay, well, I look young, like whatever, this is fine. But then I would realize like they weren't listening to what I was saying. I would have to like explain who I was, my title, even after showing them my ID that says staff, like folks just weren't, after a while I start putting two and two together, like, oh no, they don't, they're not just asking me because they think I'm a student. They're not listening to me. So, but again, that's just one experience out of many. And I definitely do not have it. As some other folks have, shared with me things that I will not share, but yeah.
Have you gotten the I speak well conversation yet?
Absolutely. All of the time. Or where are you from because of how I speak?
Wow, you're so you're so well off. You're so educated.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, what's the alternative?
Right, someone educated working in a higher education institution. Okay, wow.
Thanks for the backhanded compliment. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I was like, do I need to go or already? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to speak for higher ed as like a whole because I've been in a lot of different institutions. And so my experience has been like an interesting one. But yes, I went to like a PWI for undergrad, but there, like, it was kind of its own little beast because we had a Black population that was way more prominent. And so like Black students and Black faculty and staff were kind of leading the charge. And so I think that also influenced why I wanted to go on my student affairs journey of my own, because like I was like, oh, I have all these Black people rallying behind me, both professionally and like peer wise. And so it was kind of a culture shock for me going to some of the other institutions that I got to work for. And so I had a really hard grad school experience being a graduate assistant for the Multicultural Center because we don't have specific identity centers, and just expecting all the Black students just to like fit in this one space with Hispanic, Latinx, Asian, and certain other identities here. And just kind of like being for the Black students, but them not having the support, and like me being one of maybe like a couple people on campus that they have support from. And that just like burns you out a little bit, but it's like you want to do everything you can to make sure that they have the experience that they deserve. And then I'll also say too, being on other campuses in some other states. So I worked in Florida and Texas as well. And like, those are states that I feel like have really like decent populations of Black students, but like I was in offices where there weren't a lot of Black students involved. So like leadership programs or orientation. And I was like really confused by that. And so I think it's just really interesting when you want to kind of be that person on campus that students turn to. But it's like, what do you do when they don't see you? And on the flip side of that is like, what do you do when you're the only person that students feel comfortable coming to? So I would say like that's been kind of my journey. And now I'm at San Jose State, where I'm expected to support Black students and other multicultural students. But I don't know if people know right now, because of the 3% and the lower enrollment of Black students at our university, we don't have a lot of Black students in Greek life, particularly in our historically Black Greek organizations. And so that was also something that I was tasked with coming in here and kind of increasing that. And so while I look forward to doing that, and also that is my project, it's really hard because I am a Black Greek and I'd never been in this position before. And so I want to continue to support Black students, whether they choose to go Greek or not, because that is ultimately your personal choice. But it's really hard, one, starting a job in a virtual environment and not getting to see the 200 faculty and staff on campus all the time, as well as the Black students that I know we have on campus. And so that's kind of been my experience. I do have one other Black staff in my office. But I will say, like, I work independently a lot. And so making those connections can be hard, and like touching base with people can be hard. And so that's just been my experience so far. But I'm sure it'll continue to change and grow. So, yeah.
Got you. Okay. So at least I'm going to loop back to the comments that we made before, but I kind of want to work my way back up to them. So with Kira, with you working at lower populationed schools, at least when it comes to Black students, when you comparing it to higher populations of Black students to lower populations, what kind of feelings do you receive on campus versus, like, does that make sense? I feel like I'm breaking up my question a little bit. What differences do you notice being on a campus with higher populations of Black students versus lower populations? Because I'm assuming that the faculty and staff numbers are also about the same as the student numbers. So what does that feel like moving on a campus that has more and less Black students?
Personally, I feel like the main thing is because I feel like Black people, students and faculty and staff alike, naturally have this drive that they go for because they're really passionate about what they do and representing, that they take the charge and they are the forefront and they are the leaders of many of their initiatives and programs in their departments, whether they are in those specific positions or not. And so that's the main difference. And then I think also too, just people allow them to do so because like the product is always good, the programs are good, the initiatives make sense. And so it provides a more supported atmosphere, I guess. Whereas like what Raymond was saying, like the Black Lives marketing kind of attitude in behavior, it's a little less of that because it's like when you have Black people putting it out, like then it makes more sense for everyone, including Black people. So I think that's the main difference that I've seen. I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah.
Made sense on my end. So thank you. But it's so interesting how we've had to navigate different microaggressions that we might not have realized were microaggressions. So like Kayla and Raymond were going into, like, you speak so well, you're so well spoken, you're eloquent, like all of these different things. It's so interesting trying to navigate that as like a woke Black adult, recognizing what the other side of that comment is really saying. Are there any other microaggressions that have been common for you, maybe as a student, maybe now as a professional, or just being a Black person in the world, like recognizing the backhanded compliments that come along with this? Because I know I've spoken too.
If the truck outside my window is quiet again. But generally, I guess working in higher education, you usually run into the you don't have a PhD type of thing. If you don't have a PhD, nobody really wants to hear it. And even if you are, and Kira and Kayla, y'all both have your masters. Am I right? Correct? No? Nope, Kira. Okay, Kira, not Kayla. Sorry, she's a work in progress. But generally, if you don't have a PhD in some of these institutions or in some of these situations, then your opinion is just not going to be valued at all. Even if you are, you know, the performance indicator for the actual program that they have in place. I mean, they're going to be advertising or trying to solicit students, master's level students, undergrads, different minority groups. But if you don't have a PhD, nobody's going to really listen to you. And do I necessarily feel like that's right? I mean, of course not. I mean, you can learn something from anybody. But generally in higher education, that is the primary hurdle that those who don't have a PhD have to walk through, is that you don't have enough education to have a conversation with me. So
that's tough, because continues to go back to that notion that we have to work twice as hard for half of what everyone else has to work for.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me, if I can like piggyback off of that, like, yeah, like it's like almost as if our experiences aren't enough of like research or I guess perspective to keep like even bring to the table. And then even when people do want like tangible proof or studies or insert other academia here, it's almost like, well, it already doesn't exist because there are all these barriers to Black researchers and Black academics to even put out this content anyway. And I faced that in grad school. Even like I wanted to do research on our Black community, and my professor basically told me, I would rather you not, because you already hold those identities and that's not really adding to what I want what the students to do. And I was like, nobody else in my class is doing this research. And I'm the only Black student in this class that wants to do this research. I'm the only Black student here, period. So, yeah, I ended up not getting to do it, but I did it in another class. So that was whatever. But yeah, there's not a lot out there.
That's frustrating.
And to piggyback off that, I mean, I feel your pain. When I did my orientation for my program, I was the only Black person in the room, and I looked hard. I was like, yeah, you see another Black person, you look them in the eyes, and you have that particular look, and like y'all bond, and you're like, I'm accountable for you, you're accountable for me. I think I looked around for maybe like 25 minutes, and I was like, oh, it's only me. So yeah, you run into that issue. I guess the higher that you get, the less Black people that you see, which is unfortunate, because I think it would benefit itself if you had, a person or an individual to bounce ideas off of or experiences off of, because you can only see from one perspective, but they have a whole different, side of the mountain of experience that you could kind of piggyback off of, and it's just not available to us. So.
Well, again, like we said, my master's is a work in progress, so I haven't had those experiences yet, but I mean, it's good to know what I need to prepare for. The only other thing that I can say that I've changed since becoming a working professional is, my name is Kayla McGill. It sounds very Irish. And again, back to how I speak on the phone, I've just gotten to a point where I'm tired of showing up somewhere and getting, oh. So now I make it very visible who I am, have an updated LinkedIn presence. I put my photo on my professional email now. That's made work a lot better. In undergrad, that's something that I discovered as well, especially I went to school in Oregon. So for obvious reasons, people were surprised. But you just learn, and again, excuse my dog, you just learn to work around different things. So it's unfortunate, but you play the game until the game changes at this point, and you do what you can to help out with that.
I gotta ask a question, because you just said something that I always hear. It's like, you gotta play the game. Do you feel like the game's been working for you?
You're asking all of us, or specifically Kayla?
I mean, chime in if you feel like, anybody, chime in if you feel like playing the game actually gets you ahead in the game. Because, I've played the game and I've won, I've also lost, but do I feel like I should have to play the game? No one else is playing games, it seems, except people that look like me. I only hear that in situations where people like me say, hey, you got to make sure that you play the game so that you can get into the room. But nobody else is playing games. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of playing games. Like, I'm here to not play games. So for me to have to play games to get where somebody else is getting, I'm just not doing it. Like I'm not playing the game. I'm here for no games.
I mean, I definitely agree to what you say. Maybe I think I'm just used to it too. So I went to a predominantly white K through 12 school district as well. So it's something that I'm just used to. It's like second nature. Definitely not saying it's okay. And it's definitely not something that, again, that I was even aware of that I had to do besides having those conversations with folks when I got to college. It's just something I was used to. I'm always used to being the only Black kid in school. I'm always used to being the only Black person in the room. I'm just used to it. So when I got older and there were names starting to be put to the instances that were happening, like microaggressions or just biases, things that I'm learning. I'm like, okay, I'm playing this game, and again, having those conversations. Obviously, it's exhausting, especially having peers that I see are not
Not
having
playing
to
the
do
game.
this,
Not
right?
playing the
Not
game, but
doing it,
winning.
right? But again, I think it has worked out for me so far. I obviously now I want to get to a point where I'm not having to do this anymore because I just want to be able to focus on what I'm doing, which is my work and just me. I don't want to have to always, have this facade on.
Okay. Wait, Kira, you about to jump in?
Yeah. I was just gonna say the same thing. Like I have had to play the game, and I've also, refused to play the game. And I've won some and lost some. And I don't know. I'm also tired. I come from a very strong Black community of just like growing up, as well as a really good family. I think that is supportive, and so I don't really know. Some days it just doesn't feel worth it, worth playing along. And then some days I'm just like, I'm just gonna do my work, keep my head down, do my work. But I think if there's anything to like tell any student specifically, it's like higher ed, all these institutions in this this society, politics, like all of it is politics. And that's something that you really can't avoid. And when I say politics, I don't mean Trump versus Biden. I mean like just every industry you work in like has a system, has a process, and yes, it's not fair. And yes, we're still trying to work against it. Yes, Black people are still kind of at the bottom for the most part, trying to work their way up to the top. And there are a lot in place to kind of like keep you from progressing. And I think that's something that we're always actively working towards and always trying to like work together on. But yeah, that's just something that I hear a lot is people saying, well, I don't want to get into politics of it. I don't want to be involved in that. And it's like, newsflash, you are part of it. You're just like acting blind to it. So I would just say, go ahead and get in where you fit in and just know that's kind of what it is.
I 100% agree with that. It's frustrating recognizing when you can even recognize yourself playing the game or recognizing your colleagues playing the game. But one thing that I can say has helped shape who I am as a young professional is recognizing that you really don't have to play the game if you don't want to. People are going to receive you however they want to receive you. And we're going to be received differently just because we're Black in general. People are going to be receiving us in so many different ways. So no matter how we portray ourselves, we're going to be picked up on maybe a way we're planning to portray or not. But luckily, like having Jamal as a boss, I mean, his last day is today before he transfers over to the director of racial equity and justice, I think. But he's really just taught me like, there's no point in faking the funk. Like if any of you have had a conversation with him or have been in a meeting with him, you don't ever really get too much trying to play the game politics from him. He's very straightforward, very open and honest about how he's feeling. And I think that's allowed me to recognize I don't have to play along in order to still function and get the things that I want to get done. So that's one thing I can definitely be grateful for on his behalf. But something that we mentioned a little bit ago reminded me of something I came across somewhere on the internet. Social media is so broad and vast. But there was something that a Black man was saying comes across with just being a Black man in America, just trying to navigate. It's as if, like, just think of a game. There's defense and there's offense. When it comes to Black men, it's like, I'm going to just say Black people in this moment, because I feel like this is pretty, what's the word? Transferable for all of us, even just navigating higher ed. It's like we're having to be on defense and continue to feel like we might have to play a game. But in reality, there's other groups of folks that are just on offense and being able to continue to build and like think of the next strategies while we're still trying to be one with the experience, I guess. I hope that's kind of translating well, but I hope you're getting the idea of us continuing to be on defense while other people can be on offense, probably sooner than we can feel we can be on offense for ourselves, and giving ourselves the space and the permission to be on offense sometimes. But yeah, that's everything that we have mainly for the show today. Are there any final comments you would like to mention about being a Black higher education professional? Maybe if any of you know where you're headed next, or grad school, or you want that to take you, is there anything you would like to share in what's coming up for you?
Kayla, I hope that you use that employee voucher. Use that employee voucher to get that free degree. Tuition is $5. You can't pass it up. But if you're looking for anybody or any contact information, feel free to get in contact with me. It's not that hard. Getting into grad school is all you got to do is pass the test. If you can get past the test or talk yourself through the interview, you'll be just fine. Don't even worry about it.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm definitely looking at those prices, thinking about those undergrad prices. I'm like, man, I could put on. But no, definitely just keep, for me, and I know networking is awful and I hate it so much. But one thing that Ramondo taught me before he left is just to continuously put myself in these like difficult situations. And it really does, difficult for you, something you don't want to do. And it really does help just get it to a point where, it doesn't feel as difficult anymore. So keep talking to people. I've met with Armani, and just from meeting with her, like, obviously I'm in this talk show. I've met all of you at some point. Like, find your people, really is what I'm trying to say. That's going to help you a lot throughout your journey.
I was thinking about this because I was like, I don't know what my final words would be. But like, I would say, in addition to like finding your people and like using your resources that you get as an employee or student, definitely stick to like whatever your goals are, even if they do shift and change. If you have your own personal goals for the work that you're doing or the spaces that you occupy, I would say keep going. And if you have a motive for it to help the people that look like you, you don't have to share that if you don't want to, but it can definitely like be part of your plan, be part of your goal. So I would say always keep going and use those people and those resources that you have access to do so.
Lovely. I love the words of advice from everyone. So thank you so much. Now, just to get to know all of us a little bit more before we fully wrap up the show, I have 2 questions for you that I would like to ask, and then hopefully we can expand on a little bit and learn a little bit more about each other in the process. So what is something others would never guess about you just by looking at you? People probably have a lot of different ideas of what we could be or couldn't be into. So what are some things that you might want to share?
I guess I can go back to one of the previous ones. Like, I'm really into, I guess since like 2019, I've been really into fitness. So I run like 28 miles a week or something like that. And then, so I run 14 miles every 4 days. And then while I run the 14 miles, I do, 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats. And then in the middle of the week on Wednesdays, I box for like 4 hours or something like that. Yeah, if you have the motor, like do it. It just keeps your brain like mentally sharp, just because your body's sharp. So yeah, that's something that people don't really know about me that I do a lot of. That's what most of my time is probably dedicated to.
You really weren't playing when you said you work out a lot, like a lot.
A lot. Like I don't have a partner to run with me because they say that I run too far. So
All right, who else would like to go next? Thanks for sharing, Raymond.
I just want to bring up that you casually were like, yeah, I think I boxed for like 4 hours. I don't know. I really lose count. Like, that's just,
that's how it works.
man.
Like when you getting punched in the face, like you're not looking at the clock. You try to not get punched in the face, like she said, when you're always on defense.
I think I
Instead of
noticed after about 5 minutes.
it's mostly like sparring, and then you stop, and then you talk about strategy, and then you go at it again, and then you look at it, and then you're like, oh, it's nighttime now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I guess so. One thing that people might not know about me, because one, I'm a woman, and two, I'm Black, and we are very rare in this space. But I absolutely love video games. I spend a lot of time playing video games. So that's when I have my 4 hour moments. I'm like, oh man, I need to eat. So that just kind of keeps me going. That's been making sure I sprinkle that in every day during this quarantine.
What are you playing?
It's controversial because there's a lot of bugs in the current game, but right now I'm wholeheartedly playing Fallout 76. I love the Fallout series, and I know that it's really buggy right now, but I've been looking forward to Fallout being online for so long, so I don't care. That's my game right now.
I'm gonna respectfully just let you have that.
This is hard. Okay, something people probably wouldn't know about me. I'm really passionate about performing arts as well as fashion. So I actually danced like my whole life. Probably I'm 24 now, for probably like 20 years. I recently just stopped, but I'm trying to get back to it. And I primarily did like, modern, lyrical, contemporary, and jazz. Not so good at hip hop, not so good at ballet. So just gonna leave that there. So yeah, that's something I'm pretty passionate about. All things music, fashion, dance. I feel like I'm a creative at heart. So I'm always looking for opportunities to learn new creative skills. If anybody wants to teach me anything about the Adobe Creative Suite, I'm looking for.
Let's go.
Please teach me. I cannot learn by myself. So yes. And I'm also super passionate about travel.
I have like 10 years in like graphic design.
Please teach me.
Photoshop first.
Okay.
Trust me. Photoshop. You said what?
I kind of know Lightroom a little bit.
A little bit.
Okay.
If you learn Photoshop, it'll be a lot easier for you to learn Lightroom. I promise you.
Yes.
I'll find some resources and I'll get them to you.
Thanks.
I'd appreciate those resources too.
I got you.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess I'll also share too. Something people wouldn't expect about me just by looking at me. I'm a plant mom. I love my kids. I have like 9 of them in a small garden. I think it's actually 8. I lost Raj, but yeah, they're really cool. And I just like look up at them, and whenever people are like, oh, this plant, whatever, in my garden, I'm like, yeah, my kids are way cooler than me, because I feel like they really are. So yeah, I really enjoy this process, and I'm kind of struggling with one of them. I think it has like a bacterial disease within the soil, and I don't really want to repot it, and it still has the thing, so I kind of just want to return it, but I feel bad because I've already started to gain an attachment towards it. So yeah, I don't
That's
know.
why you don't give them names. That's why you don't give them names.
They all have names.
You got to call them like 001. Like you can't give them names. If you give them names, you start to love them.
Yeah. And actually, I've had a really hard time naming this one, but I think I finally came up with one, but I'm still not totally sure.
See, now you know why you couldn't find a name.
I know. I just
What
don't
kind
know.
of plant?
Huh?
Is this? What kind of plant is the struggle plant?
This is a fiddle leaf fig.
Ooh, okay. Those always have issues. Good luck with that. I was gonna try to give you some advice, but I can't.
Yeah. So I'm really struggling if I want to really repot it. I've been staring at it wanting to repot it for like a month, but I've also just been like, well, the Costco receipt isn't far from here either, so I kind of just will go return
The
it.
return policy is always an option.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to keep meditating on it for a little bit. All right. So thanks for sharing all of that. Let's get into our next one, final one. What's something you wouldn't want to change about yourself, and explain?
Easy. I'm aggressive. Like boom. Like I think the fastest way to get to A to Z is a straight line. If I say it and it offends you, it just means that you didn't want to change it and I said something. But if you have offense to something that I say, you always have the option to not either care or to change the behavior that you believe to be correct. But yeah, I'm super aggressive, and I just like I've been in meetings with Jamal as well, and I just say what I want. And if you don't like it, well, all right, it's whatever. You go about your day. That's cool.
What's your sign? I feel like you're a fire sign, but I could be so wrong. But
I'll take a guess.
If anyone else wants to take a guess with me too. I'm trying to think of who's blunt.
Are you an Aries?
Nah.
Are you a Taurus?
Nah.
Okay, don't hold up. Don't say it like that to Taurus, okay?
Oh, excuse me. Let me.
Are you
I'll pause. Am I a Sag? No, my wife is a Sag.
Don't say you're a Scorpio.
Stop it.
Nah.
Stop it right now.
We had this conversation, Armani.
We did.
No, not a Scorpio.
Gemini?
Nah, birthday's too early.
I don't know. I think I'm all chock full of options.
Is it Aquarius?
You can't be an Aries.
We already said that one.
We already said Aries, but
okay.
I'm not.
Virgo?
Nope.
Libra?
That's right.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The third.
I don't know very many Libras.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
They say we're very diplomatic.
Right, which I'm very surprised when you said Libra. At least off these interactions, I'm like, I feel like most Libras are very like chill, soft.
Nah, it's Libras they say it's like a balance, or they're very diplomatic, but I guess you get to choose which side of the scale that you want to be on. Do you want to be nice, or do you want to be you? And I prefer to be me. Like, that's easy. I think the truth is far more funnier than a lie. So I'd rather tell you the truth and laugh about it rather than lie to you, and then you think that there's something there that's not.
Got you. That's healthy.
For me.
All right. Is there anything else someone wouldn't want to change about themselves?
I kind of have to piggyback off of that. I'm very shy and reserved unless I'm comfortable with you, like very much so. But I can be extremely assertive within context. And like, if I just truly do not believe, like, I'm going to speak up and not let it go. To give you an example, and I've always been this way, and I used to fight it, but my mom told me a story actually recently about when I was in kindergarten, and she got a phone call from my school because my teacher decided, they always write the schedule down every day on the board of what we're going to do. And I'm very type A orderly, and my teacher decided that she wanted to change our recess time. And I wasn't having it, because when you say a certain thing and we have schedules a certain way, this is how it's going to be. I don't do changes like that. And I like to speak up for people who do not speak up on behalf of themselves. We had been in class all day listening to her talk, and it was like 3 o'clock, we need to recess. So I kept going on and on and on, and would not let up about not going to recess on time. And they had to call my mom to come get me because I just would not let it go.
She
so
went for
after
the
hearing
games.
that, right. So after hearing that story, it's just like, okay, I really have always just been like this. And I've been able to, stand up for myself when I need to. And so it's just something I don't fight anymore. And I'm proud to kind of have that tenacity. Like, if I need to get something done and there's only one option for me, I'm gonna get it done.
I guess for me, I'll preface this with like, I am a Christian, but I would say like my like childlike and unchanging like faith and just like things will happen like how it's supposed to happen. And I will say this is like worked out in my favor in many times in my life, where I just like believed it'll happen. So like, for example, taking this job, a lot of my family were not happy about me moving to California. I didn't have a lot saved up to just move. And of course, I didn't know, I started in May. I didn't know how I was gonna make that really quick move in May. And at the time I was already paying rent somewhere else and I really didn't have enough money to pay 2 rents. And so my parents were like getting on me, all that stuff. And I was like, it'll work out. And here we are in a virtual space. I didn't need to move. So I ended up moving way later than expected so I could save more money to move. And it's just like little things like that have happened a lot for me. And so, yeah, I would say my childlike and unchanging faith in that things will just happen how it's supposed to and everything will work out, even if you have little to no plan or your original plan might not seem like foolproof. So, yeah.
Did you fly to San Jose or did you drive to San Jose?
I flew, so I actually don't have my car here, and I have roommates, and one of my best friends also got a job here, and so he drives me everywhere, and then I'll probably send my car here maybe January.
Don't drive. I did it. Don't drive.
I'm shipping it. I'm also a new driver. I just got my car like a year and a half ago, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it took me driving from Houston. I think it took me 2.5 days to get here. Yeah. Nah, it's not the wave. Don't. I'm gonna tell you. Don't do that. Yeah.
Got you. I would say for me, I wouldn't want to change how curious I am. I'm a very curious person. I love to just be able to explore a lot of different things. And I think if I wouldn't have explored a lot of things, Pisces, yes. If I wouldn't have explored a lot of things, then I don't think I would have experienced as many things as I have and openly experienced so many things. So, yeah, that's what I wouldn't change about myself. And now that we know Kira is a Pisces, Raymond is a Libra, Kayla, you're a Taurus, right? Okay, and I'm a Scorpio, if I didn't make that clear when she attacked us like that. But
it's only one.
No. Kayla had attacked our Scorpios, but it's okay because I'm not.
You knew I was going to say that.
People hate on us for no reason, but it's okay.
Is there a zodiac bias? I didn't know that there was a bias with this.
I think there is a bias. I think so.
Is there a golden child of zodiacs?
All I'm saying is just ask anybody about a Scorpio. Everybody has a story.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to agree. That's true.
I will say there's probably 2 sides of the scale to also be on for Scorpios. I think a lot of people find themselves on the unlikely scale. I try to find my side on the happy side.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
She said, I love Scorpios mostly. Sprinkle that on top of that.
Okay, well, this was so much fun. I appreciate all of you for being here and sharing your experiences with our students and archiving it with us on our YouTube. So if any of you want to share this link with your folks, let them know you are YouTube famous on behalf of the Black Student Center on campus. But yeah, thank you so much. If there's any final words you want to leave with everyone, again, go ahead and leave that. Leave your emails or mention your emails as well for people to get in contact with you. And yeah, we can go from there.
I guess you could see my name. Hopefully you can see my name. You can find me on LinkedIn. I got to keep my social medias private. I got to have some separation. And if you're watching this and you're in Houston, Texas, and you're from Greenspoint, Texas, like, hello, we made it quite far. So I expect to see you soon.
Yeah, you can see my name as well. My email is just my first name dot last name at sjsu.edu. Also on LinkedIn. Also keep your social media private. Just tip for life. Just do it. Yeah, and thanks for listening.
You can also find me on LinkedIn, Kira Taylor. I'll happily connect with you guys. If you're from North Carolina or the South, I already love you. We can connect. And I also meet with any and all students. So you don't want to talk Greek life, we don't have to. I don't care. So yeah, connect with me, email me. Email's first name, last name. So yeah.
Cool. All right, without further ado,